Hello, my name is Chloe Villano with Cloverleaf University, the nation's first approved cannabis and hemp university by the Colorado Department of Higher Education's Private Occupational School Board. And today we're launching our Leaf Talks podcast series, Sports, Meds, and Money, with some of the best doctors, attorneys, and athletes in cannabis to talk about sports medicine, research, cannabis in medicine, and cannabis in education. So we have our second panel now, which is going to be the amazing Rachel Gillette. Let me get my list. This is how wonderful Rachel is. We have a whole list here. So I won't go over the whole thing, but I worked with Rachel since 2010. On the business side, she has been an incredible force for setting up businesses, getting people through tax audits, expanding businesses all over the United States, licensing, mergers and acquisitions. And I have a huge amount of respect for you, Rachel. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. That was an amazing panel that I just got to listen in on.
I know, I'm so glad. We had some technical difficulties, so I apologize for us starting a little bit later today, but I guess we're going to have to just go later.
No, I appreciated it. It was great.
Good. And then we also have a dear friend of mine who I actually went to the same elementary school with, but didn't know him back then, Emmanuel Bernal, who has been in the industry since 2009 and has built a vertically integrated business called Wolfpac and a huge brand that's expanded to multiple states, countries. And Emmanuel, you have just done such an incredible job bringing in, just innovating, I should say, this space. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Chloe.
And so why don't you guys go ahead and just come on, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started, and then we'll go into our questions.
Okay. Rachel, ladies first, obviously.
All right. So I began practicing in the cannabis law back in 2010. I started my own practice to focus on representing cannabis businesses. At the time, no law firms wanted to take on these new businesses and these new entrepreneurs because Colorado was the first state to allow for-profit medical marijuana licensing at the time. So it was, and we didn't really know what the federal government was going to be doing. So there were sort of a lack of service providers at the time. I had a business and tax background, and I was really excited to serve this new industry. Although I was told by numerous law professors as well as other people that I would potentially lose my law license by representing cannabis businesses. But I'm here now. I joined Greenspoon Marder. I ran my own practice for 6 years. I joined Greenspoon Marder 4 years ago in 2016. And I'm really happy to serve this industry. It's made up of incredible entrepreneurs such as Emmanuel, who have so much good energy and ideas and progressiveness, all with the backdrop of federal illegality. So these are really brave business people that we're working with.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, I just want to tell you, thank you for representing people like us and taking the risk like we did. We always need legal guidance from our lawyers. So thank you for that. I've been in the industry since 2009, was always wanted to be vertically integrated. We started with medical, and it was a rough start because we didn't know our future. We were told that we will be, prosecuted and the feds are going to come get us and we're going to get shut down, and any little thing that, we did, we were really frowned upon. But however, now that cannabis is an essential, we feel a lot better and we have good lawyers on our side. In 2013, I sold my business for what I thought was a lot of money and pivoted back into the business in the manufacturing side. But in Colorado, we've been through so many ups and downs where the prices have decreased and they went up. And I decided to jump back into the retail, which was in 2018. And that's when we started Wolfpac. Wolfpac is more of a culture brand. We're really trying to innovate with bringing other professionals to the industry and having them bring their skills to the cannabis sector. and that comes with, you know, people in the music industry, designers for merchandise, accessories, glass blowers. Music is a big one. Celebrities, artists, sports. I mean, culture is a pretty broad, you know, area, but we've just really trying to bring other professionals in that have the passion that we do, and just keep working with them and just keep trying to innovate and represent for Colorado, because we've been one of the first ones to really, you know, go through everything and try to standardize our industry, and you know, the result of that is a mature market, and it's going really well for us in Colorado, but now we've been expanding into other states, looking at other countries as well, and that's my background for now.
It's incredible.
Thanks.
I just want to mention too that my much younger associates all follow the Wolfpac on social media. So
Yeah.
you've certainly made an impact. That's not
Yeah.
from my direction either. That's all on their own.
Yeah, we're really trying to you know, really include news now into it. We started doing stories, and I have somebody really amazing that is helping me. We have a marketing team now, so it's really we're showing everything that we're doing, because the people need to know. We want to give out information, you know, the good and the bad, and what to do on the legal end. You know, we wanted to kind of share some stuff that Jared Polis did, you know, with like expunging all of the possession underneath an ounce, you know, just keep showing a little bit of everything. We're really making a schedule of every day what type of content to put out, and really trying to dial that in. And I'm really enjoying doing that, and I'm doing it with passion. And yeah, let's just tell them, keep following us.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. So, Rachel, I kind of want to go straight into the COVID conversation with you, and you too, Emmanuel. You know, cannabis is deemed essential. Let's talk about investments. Let's talk about business. I mean, this, of course, is sports, meds, and money. So we're talking about big time athletes, and also even celebrities and people who are coming in that have this money, that kind of want to get into this industry. And where do you see these opportunities from a legal perspective?
Sure. I mean, the exciting thing about the cannabis industry, as you've mentioned, and so has Emmanuel, is that it's an essential business in most states. I think Massachusetts shut down their rec market. It's recently reopened again. But I mean, there was a little bit of a pause and sort of what's going to happen at first when sort of we'd had the nationwide shutdown. We didn't know what was going to happen with the industry. Thankfully, we have very strong leadership in Colorado that really instantly made cannabis businesses essential. There was a little bit of a scary moment when the city of Denver mayor tried to shut down cannabis businesses at one point, but that only lasted a few hours, thankfully. And what we kind of have seen is maybe a little bit of pause in some of the investment that was going full steam ahead. I think some investors got a little bit cautious, mostly not because of their that they were cautious about investing in the cannabis industry, but there were other things that were affecting their ability to invest.
Like all their other investments.
Right. So I think we've seen a little bit of a slowdown, but at the same time, you know, during a downtime, during a recession, is sometimes the best time to open a business or to start a business idea. So, you know, I see a lot of energy in the cannabis industry. We see a lot of people getting into this space, even with COVID. I think now, months later, we've sort of figured out that it's somewhat recession-proof, that there's a great demand for cannabis and cannabis products. We've had record sales in Colorado. So there's just a ton of opportunities, and both in, you know, plant touching, but also these ancillary businesses. And I think Emmanuel would probably say that his business is part ancillary too, because you're doing branding and all sorts of other stuff. So, you know, as far as athletes, we're seeing a lot of athletes come in. Thankfully, we're seeing where I think maybe it was stigmatized a little bit in the past for athletes. There's more acceptance today. And I think as time goes on, there's more and more acceptance. So there's still tremendous opportunities for people in this space, especially in a state like Colorado, where we have sort of a free market economy when it comes to cannabis businesses. Other states are very limited in at least the plant touching side of it. which I think is somewhat problematic. But
Emmanuel, how has your business changed during COVID, and have your numbers gone up? I mean, I hear from a lot of people their numbers are doubling in this industry. What have you seen?
Yeah, well, when we actually, had to start the curbside, I actually was on the phone with Rachel probably 24 hours before that started, and she was guiding us. And kind of giving me the blueprint of what to do, with respect onto the executive order from the mayor. From the governor. The governor had it all right, and we were activated within 24 hours because of her guidance. So thank you for that. We were part of history. We were literally selling cannabis outside of a store. We were on First and Federal selling weed on the corner, which was a little bit weird. However, we don't have time to really, have our feelings. We have to move, and we had to provide and start selling. We had an ATM outside, bolted to the concrete, and really just selling and trying to figure out if what we were doing was correct. So I was probably bugging her so much that day because I didn't want to get arrested. But it was definitely emotional because our mayor did come out on the news. Everybody was watching the news in the store, and they said that we were going to have to shut down. However, I knew deep down inside that what Rachel had told me was that the governor had different orders. So I was like, he's wrong. I think there was a miscommunication there. So we kept going. We sold about, for about a week or two outside, just have security guard right next to us and coming in and out from the dispensary, selling weed outside on the curb. So that was a big piece of history for all of us, that were involved in those times. And, we've really learned to pivot and respect the rules and start the 6 foot distance, put up the plexiglass, have the temperature checking before you come in, everybody wearing gloves, all the employees getting tested for COVID, every, probably once a month, really practicing and trying to set the standard for our people and making the blueprint for everybody else that's watching, really spraying the dispensary with pharmaceutical cleaning materials. And it's been good because of that. And we, instead of downsizing in marketing, we actually upped it by 100%. Our marketing budget went up, and the results of that was our sales were probably 150 to 200% higher than usual. So we were getting a lot of different market share from people that were kind of scared and moving around, but we had good guidance. We had good people, advisors on our side. I think it's really been the case of making lemonade out of lemons. We're not happy that COVID is here. However, it's been a blessing in disguise for us because now we're really trying to be clean and take it to the next level with marketing and really getting the word out and showing that we are selling clean cannabis. Everybody in the dispensary is clean as well. We're getting tested X amount of times. It's brought a lot of attention to us from athletes as well. We started working with a lot of UFC fighters now, and it's been like a domino effect. We started working with one of the gyms in Colorado that train all the UFC fighters. It's called Factory X. And, we started doing stories on them, and now they're being more open. Now we're having football players come in, basketball players. We're seeing everything, but there's a lot of professionals coming into the stores now that before they were really scared, So I think Colorado has done a good job with allowing cannabis for the professionals, the athletes. And they're allowing us to record them now on film. If you guys want to see any stories, we've done a couple on the UFC fighters, and we have some of the other athletes too that we have recorded with them, but they haven't told us to go and let it out yet. But we are recording and trying to really educate ourselves and our audience.
And Manuel, I've noticed every time I go by Wolfpac that there's like now security on your roof, and there's a line all the way around the block. So really, you're probably the most annoying guy on that whole block because your business is just popping and people are standing in lines, and their business is probably a little bit down. So it is a blessing.
Yeah, it really is.
I was going to say what's really interesting too is we kind of fast-tracked online ordering because we've had regulation now in Colorado for 10 years, and I know we've been begging for the ability to do online sales. We've never been able to do that, and with the COVID, we're now these businesses are able to do online sales, and that's so much more convenient for your clients and your customers. And I can't wait to see when delivery really starts speeding up too. We've got to get local jurisdictions to pass ordinances allowing for delivery to happen, but just imagine what's going to happen and how convenient it's going to be for customers of Wolfpac to be able to have delivery direct to their house. It's going to be great. And that's one of the benefits of COVID is we now have the ability to do online ordering. And I'm hoping that that will stay in place because businesses like Emmanuel's have proven that it actually can be safely done. And it's not a big deal. So.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we literally have a security guard in the front of the line, in the back of the line, and another one inside, making sure that people respect the mask rule and the distance rule. And there, it gets complicated. You know, we've had a lot of troubles too. It hasn't been easy. You know, we have people that complain, why do I have to wear a mask? Why do they're my friends. Why can't I stand at the register next to them? So literally we had to escort people. We've had the cops come. I mean, we've had it all, you know, and it's not easy. You just have to be really involved. And that's what I tell other people that want to get into the industry. You have to be involved. You have to be hands-on. It's not just here's X amount of $1 million and go for it. No, it's not like that. And other companies that have done that, I mean, they're failing. So it's really taught us to really be involved.
I've drove by a lot of other stores and I don't see the lines that you have outside your store, and people have asked me, what do they do different? And I said the owner is involved in the store, and you can really see when the owner has a presence there, I think.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's talk about, I'm looking at some of these questions here. What are different places in the space that some of these athletes can get into?
Well, I mean, I would say there's a ton of different opportunities. So obviously there's the plant touching aspect, but remember the cannabis industry is huge. And there are so many different types of businesses that have been created as a result of this industry that has developed over a relatively very short period of time. I mean, we see a lot of athletes, I think, getting involved in sort of branding opportunities, you know, developing their own brands of somehow cannabis affiliated products. Definitely ancillary services that are meant or directed to the cannabis consumer or the cannabis business, right? We see a lot of those types of opportunities. Plant touching is just one aspect of it. Owning directly a license and selling and cultivating or manufacturing cannabis is one part of it, but the industry is huge. And I actually think the ancillary part of the industry is even probably bigger than the industry itself. But definitely a lot of opportunities out there, products and services for the cannabis industry or cannabis consumer.
You know, personally, I think it's sometimes better for an athlete to get involved with like a brand like Manual's or like a Wolfpac or something, because I mean, you're not going to see them all day sitting at their dispensary, working, going in, making sure your entire team's working. Although what they do have is a really good team around them to put these type of deals together. And I've noticed that. So, you know, Emmanuel, you were talking to me a little bit about, you know, your Spanish. And you know, you using your minority, using it for the culture. And I know you've kind of expanded out into Mexico. I mean, I think that that's huge, because when we look at something like football or we look at sports, we see a lot of minorities, right? And they have such a huge opportunity right now to really shine, especially in this space. So tell us a little bit about opportunities you see with using culture and even, you know, the fame that they really have to be able to come in and make a really big mark.
Yeah, I think it's all educational. Everybody's following these athletes. They have millions of followers on their social media. That's really the way to get word out nowadays, you know. It's all changing digital, especially after what has been going on with COVID. Everyone has their phone attached to them like no other. So with my experience, I think branding is huge. For them to be a true smoker and really understand, most of them do smoke and they've been smoking for years. They just really are not open about it because they could be losing different contracts that they've had in the past. But I think being the brand, being the face of certain products that they're passionate about, I think is important. There's been other types of athletes. I mean, we've even had luchadores, which is wrestlers from Mexico, come in and they want to get involved. We have soccer players that want to get involved. That's more in South America and Colombia, because that's the major sport over there. But it's really big because they just have the following. The people follow them like they're celebrities. At the end of the day, everybody's wanting to see what the celebrity is doing. Whatever they're doing is cool. So I think it's their job to educate without putting in danger their career. So that's where I think Colorado and different leagues, like the baseball league, stopped testing. The basketball league also is letting you smoke. They're not testing anymore. So there's different types of professional athletes that are getting involved that can, but there's still a lot in the closet. There's a lot of them in the closet, and other professionals, not just athletes. Like we serve some judges. Even there's some policemen that smoke. So I think the way to really use their celebrity status is by educating. Look at Michael Phelps. He's a pro. He's a champion that smokes cannabis. So we're trying to really break the stoner, the slow stoner. We don't want to have that image anymore. It's our job, as professionals, to really try to break that, and I think the athletes are a big piece to it.
So I just want to mention too, it's just such a step in the right direction for these leagues to stop testing or saying that cannabis is bad. You just had that wonderful panel with those doctors who are all talking about the health benefits of cannabis and how unique and special it is. And I mean, these athletes put their bodies on the line every single day. Mm-hmm. And to have them be able to utilize cannabis as opposed to other types of things that would be much more harmful, I think is really good. That's a good step in the right direction, and it's been a long time coming, and we want to see more leagues start doing that as well, because we all know that cannabis is safe relatively to a lot of prescription medications, and we all know that it can help you with pain and other things. Right. So it's high time, so to speak, that athletes should be able to use it if they need to use it medicinally too. Right. So I think that's really exciting.
It's so funny though, because as I look back, and I'm actually the consultant that introduced Al to CBD and kind of got his group into the industry. And I used to get eaten for breakfast with his financial advisor every time I'd sit down with this guy. This guy was a little bit older, and I would say, this is the plan. This is what he should do. He should do this. This is how you blow up a cannabis business, right? And he'd say, he shouldn't do that. And he goes, because I said, well, what's wrong with him saying he's for this plant medically? I mean, what's wrong with that? And he told me, he said, because if someone saw him smoking 5 years ago and knew that it wasn't medically, or he wasn't injured, or saw him smoking with friends, drunk, and on the or whatever it is, then somebody could come back and say it's not medical, he believes in recreational, he isn't who he says he is. So if he's going to come out, he needs to come out, and he needs to say that he supports cannabis, and he needs to stand for it, and he's not there yet. And every time I would talk to this guy, I would realize he was right. He really knew what he was talking about. And on the other end, I think back then, which is 10 years ago, thinking that these athletes would sell more cannabis because of who they were, that's really simply not, I don't think, how it works. I mean, I've never gone into Willie Nelson's dispensary because it's Willie Nelson. I go where the weed is good, where the reputation is good. So I really don't think that you have to be automatically famous, or that you can be famous and sell, I guess I should say, shitty weed. I mean, it has to be a good product. It still has to be a well-run business in order for celebrities to make it. And I think that's a point we really have to push out there, is that you can't just put your name on something and turn it to gold. You really have to have a product.
Yeah.
You're going to have the reputation to sell, right?
Right. Definitely don't hitch your wagon to a falling star. Right.
Do you guys know anything about Mike Tyson's brand? That's a good example.
I mean, I know he's building a huge, but he's been for a while, but I haven't really seen his actual product.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of he has a big display in Planet 13 in Vegas. I know he has some stuff going on in California, but maybe he might come to Denver. You never know. A lot of people are starting to look at these mature markets now, like Colorado. So I have a feeling. I mean, every day we're seeing more and more. Rachel, I know you probably see more brands trying to get into Colorado that are coming from California or other markets because we're so mature. And coming from California, it's these other brands. There's 2,000 brands out there, so it's not that easy. And the sales are there, but they're really looking at Colorado now because we are mature. So we're seeing a lot of types of different brands come into Colorado, including celebrities and athletes.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can pick, I mean, as a brand ambassador or somebody that wants to get a brand in a state like Colorado, we have the best of the best. And that's very different. And that's because we have competition in this marketplace. And I want people to understand that, because when you look at a state like Florida, there is no motivation when you have, 20 licenses in the entire state and they control, one of them controls half the marketplace. There's no competition to make sure that that product gets better or the best. And in Colorado, we have some of the best producers of cannabis, probably in the world. It's pretty amazing. And we have like a legitimate industry here. I mean, it's strictly regulated. We have probably the most regulations of any other state. Other states should really look at what we're doing because we have a strong marketplace. We collect a lot of taxes on this product. And we have some really good business people here that are in this space, very sophisticated, talented business people. And it is a mature market. And I feel like that should be very attractive to people like celebrities and athletes that want to be affiliated with the best of the best.
Mm-hmm. So we almost have to wrap up here as we are a little bit behind. But let's discuss real quick social equity. There's a lot of talk about social equity to ensure that there are opportunities, doing enough for minorities and who have been disproportionately affected by the drug war. And we're looking at this whole sports, basketball and football, and this Black Lives Matter movement, which has been so huge in the strive for equality, right? How is that? I would love for both of you to touch on that, but what do you see those type of opportunities being available for not only athletes but other minorities who might be trying to get into this industry and be able to give back?
Well, this is where I think a lot of states have failed, and I would include Colorado in that, because we now just started with social equity. We're going to go forward with that. It's great. The governor signed it. We focused on that very recently. But when we started, we were just thinking about how can we not get arrested? And so we weren't focused on really fixing the wrongs of the drug war and the fact that the drug laws have been disproportionately applied to minorities and poor people, unfortunately. And the drug war is a complete failure. But other states that are doing these sort of merit-based application systems really leave a lot of people behind. Social equity, in my mind, can't just be like, we're going to award a few licenses to a few people who happen to be minorities or have a criminal background or have been affected by the drug war. It really has to be more broad than that. It has to be taking some of the tax revenue that we get from the sale of cannabis and really reinvesting it into communities that have been affected by the drug war. That is part of it. I think we haven't really figured out social equity quite right. Yes, I want to give people opportunities in this industry, but it's got to go a little bit further in my mind than that. And I think states could really work on that. And merit-based regulatory schemes doesn't do it. That just creates monopolies or opportunities for a few, not the many.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with her, because I've actually spoken at an event for the city of Los Angeles for social equity, and this was about maybe 2 years ago. People that that were in the room is all minority, and they're really on operating in the black market, trying to convert. They have the applications ready, but there was a lot of abuse from the investors trying to come in and do these backdoor deals. And I'm going to give you what the law is, but once this is over, I'm going to give you 10 grand and we're done. So I think there's a lot of abuse there, and there's a lot of I've seen a lot of weird things going on in Los Angeles. So it's really a tough issue, and I think it's going to be a lot of hold hand process, because the reality is the applicants, they really don't have experience with handling a lot of money. It's not easy. These businesses aren't easy, and it's very investment stressful. You have to invest a lot of money, and the investors really want to take advantage. That's what I've seen on the social equity applicant. So I think it's going to be a long process. We need the right person guiding it that is going to really hold hand. It's going to have to be a hold hand process. And I would love to be involved with anything like that. And I've looked at the laws, but I haven't seen anything that has impressed me. We need somebody that really steps up for the applicants.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you both so much. Wolfpac Cannabis has some of the best cannabis in the entire state of Colorado.
Thank you.
This is where Burner shops. This is where all the celebrities go. So please go visit wolfpac.com. Is that what it is? Wolfpac.com?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
WLFPAC.com.
Yes. And follow our Instagram too.
And then Rachel, any people who are watching now that want to get into the industry, you would just be very lucky if you got in her office. She would be the one that would take you all the way. So I appreciate you both for being here today, and we'll definitely do some follow-up to this and talk more.
Thank you, Chloe.
You so much,
Thank
Chloe.
you, Rachel.
All right. Take care, guys.
Care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.